So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the WALT Wines Happy Hour. My name is Mike Reynolds. I'm the president of WALT Wines, and we're excited tonight to have Gabe Kapler from the San Francisco Giants. But before we get there, I just want to say a few things. First of all, we hope everyone is doing well in the COVID-19 crisis. And that you're healthy and happy, and that you and everyone around you is doing well. We also want to make sure we have some fun tonight. Get a little bit of wine, and if you want to join us in future happy hour tastings, we just want to remind everyone that you can visit us at waltwines.com. We have a special deal going on right now. It's called the Endless Summer Promotion. And we have 15 or 20% off on certain wines in our portfolio. Some of the wines we'll be drinking tonight. And if you want a great glass of wine to go with your summer of watching baseball on TV, we hope you might get it there. So I am really excited tonight. I am a lifelong Giants fan and have been since I think I was 10 years old, and I locked into the Giants. And tonight we are thrilled to have the new manager of the San Francisco Giants with us, manager Gabe Kapler. Gabe, can you join us?
Absolutely, Mike. Really
Welcome.
glad. Thank you very much. Really glad to be here with you and drinking some wine and talking a little baseball. Very, very glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are thrilled to have you. And for those of you who don't know, since Gabe is new to the Bay Area, Gabe actually spent a few years in the minor leagues and I believe 12 years in the major leagues with 8 different major league clubs, a short stint in Japan, and then most recently Gabe was the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. So it's a little bit of background on Gabe, and we're excited that baseball has restarted, even in a protracted season, or a shortened season, I'm sorry. And we're thrilled to have you here. But why don't we get started and let's have a glass of wine, all right?
I would love that. You
right.
lead the way and I'll follow.
All right. So we're going to pour the 2018 Bob's Ranch Chardonnay here. So I'm going to reach over, Gabe. Get your glass up there. Perfect. All right.
Thank you.
Very good. Got some wine there. So we'll get you started. Tell me a little bit about what wine looks like in your house.
I have bottles everywhere because I have a lot of great friends who know that the best gift for me is probably music and liquor or wine. So I think food, music, sensory experiences are what make me the happiest. So those are the kind of gifts that I get, and I'm so grateful for those. I like to drink a big bold red with a steak and like some macaroni and cheese and mashed potatoes, and it's my heaven. And I mean, this is a nice start to the day, something cooler and easy on the palate, like the Chardonnay. So that's what wine looks like in my house.
Super. Well, we'll talk about the Chardonnay in a minute, but maybe if I can hit you with a few rapid fire questions about wine and baseball, we'll get started that way. Now, as I recall, you were in Houston last night, right? And you had a game that ended, I don't know, at 9 o'clock or so in Houston last night, and you came home. But I assume you probably had a drink when that game was done. What did you have a drink when that game was over? Have for drink.
I was drinking whiskey. Most of the time, most of the time after games, I drink scotch or bourbon, or whatever's around. But I'm not a big drink a lot and try to forget the game kind of guy. I'm more of have a neat glass of whiskey and then have a meal, and then on the plane maybe a little bit more and dig into the advance work for the upcoming series. And so by the time I got on the plane last night, I was already thinking about Oakland. Our series starts tomorrow, and had forgotten all about a tougher road trip. It wasn't the easiest road trip. We went from LA, or excuse me, we went to Colorado and then back to LA and then halfway across the country to Houston, and then came home late last night, as you mentioned, Mike. So yeah.
And a late night for sure. So
no doubt. No doubt.
All right. Well, now I recognize that you're at a little bit of a disadvantage because you're new to the Giants family and new to the Bay Area. But if you were to share a glass of this Chardonnay, which historic Giant would you share it with?
Does Willie Mays drink wine? Willie Mays might be a really good choice. I'd love to just pepper him with questions, and we've had some nice conversations. One of the things I'll say about Willie is he has the most incredible handshake that you'll ever come into contact with. It's just strong, it's warm, and makes you feel like $1 million. He's got just a smile that lights up the room, and so many great stories. So he'd be high on my list, and I think Boch would be another one. Mike, you and I talked about this a little bit prior to us jumping online here, but my understanding is that Boch, when he first came to San Francisco, didn't have the knowledge of wine that he did when he retired or when he stopped managing the Giants. And so I'd like to have a similar experience. I love wine and I've been drinking it for a long time, but I don't have an intimate understanding of it and would love the education. So maybe just sitting down with Boch, sharing stories and hearing about his experience with wine would be right up my alley. What about you? I'll return the question.
Yeah, for me, it would be, I wasn't prepared for this. So let me think about that. It would be
you made me just speak off the top of my mind, so you just got to go. Like, who is it?
Just got to go. Probably be Willie McCovey, who was in his sunset years when I was just locking into baseball. He was playing first base for the Giants, and I remember as a kid watching him hit a ball into the upper deck in right field at Candlestick Park. So.
And how much time did you spend at Candlestick Park as a kid? And then I'd love to hear your thoughts on Candlestick versus Oracle Park.
Well, there's no question that Oracle Park is better, hands down. But I probably saw 20 games a year for 10 consecutive years. I grew up in the East Bay. And my dad used to throw us in the car, and this was before the Bay Area traffic that we have now. And we could get to the ballpark in less than a half an hour, and we'd pay $2 and sit in the bleachers. So it was awesome. We had a ball. So
it's funny how the time that you spend with your dad, and I have a similar experience at the ballpark, is it really just stands out for the rest of your life. So I have a couple of memories like that with my dad. But one of the things that I think about when I think about Candlestick is my experience at the old Tiger Stadium, because I played in the final game at the old Tiger Stadium in September of 1999. And very much like Candlestick, it wasn't the most comfortable place. It wasn't the most comfortable place to watch a game or to play a game. But there was something that was just almost like ghostly about being in the ballpark, or like kind of surreal. That Ty Cobb played center field in that ballpark, and now you're playing center field in that ballpark, and thinking about Candlestick, all the legendary Giants that played there. It's pretty overwhelming. So I can relate to what you're experiencing from your childhood. Mike, are you there?
Am I back? Can you hear me?
Got you, Mike. Yeah, I felt like I was doing the show by myself there for a while, but I didn't really have anyone to talk to.
You are doing a great job. All right, well, let's go on. So you were talking about your dad when I left, and I'm sorry, but I'm back. So how does the 3-batter minimum for pitchers change the way you think about using your bullpen now?
Well, there's something that wasn't around at Candlestick. It's a good,
No, not at all.
good transition there. The 3-batter minimum is super interesting. I personally love the ability to match up one batter at a time, and I kind of miss that. And at the same time, it's kind of interesting. Like, you're picking a pitcher to face probably 2 out of the next 3 hitters, and you have to assume that if you bring a reliever in to face a batter to finish an inning, and you're just thinking about matching him up for 1 out, if he's not able to record that out, he may have to face, by way of example, 2 right-handed hitters that you don't want him to face. So an example that comes to mind is, let's say we want to use a left-handed pitcher to get Josh Reddick out when we're playing the Houston Astros. Well, if that left-handed pitcher comes in and for whatever reason walks Josh Reddick, then he has to face the heart of the Houston order, a guy like Alex Bregman, who destroys left-handed pitching. So it's much different than it ever was. It's fun. I mean, I like the strategy of it. It's just new. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I just think that it's the way that managers have been using their bullpens for the last few years has just been flipped on its head. So it's really interesting to watch what you're all doing out there. So it's certainly a different kind of challenge, but one that I think everybody in the league has embraced. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I'm going to keep this moving along here. I did some reading about you in the last week, and I've seen a number of people comment about the very unique way that you eat ice cream. So maybe you can tell me about that.
Yeah, those are interesting stories, Mike. They are kind of a game of telephone, but I'll kind of give you the nuts and the bolts of where that comes from. When I was a very young player, just kind of finding my way in kind of the later stages of my minor league career, I was completely devoted to being as strong and as fast as I possibly could. And I invested so much in my diet. So if I was in a very strict part of my diet, but I still wanted to experience the flavors of food, it wasn't unusual for me to take a bite of an ice cream cone, taste it, and spit it out, much like you would like if you're doing a wine tasting. So if you do that in front of your teammates, then that becomes stuff of kind of legend and lore. And 25 years later or 20 years later, people are still talking about it like it happened yesterday. That one time you were walking down the street and you took a bite of ice cream and spit it out. So that is the backstory to how I ate ice cream. Now how I eat ice cream is by the pint and whenever I want.
Okay, that's a good story. All right. Well, my last rapid fire question for you is, this is one I've been dying to ask, and I'm glad I have you. So in the last, 10 years, these big shifts for batters, in particular, left-handed pull hitters have come into play. And you have 3 infielders on the right side of second base. And it just seems to me so easy to lay down a bunt down the third baseline and literally walk to first base. And yet nobody does it. So I want you to explain this psychology to me, or strategy.
Happy to do it. The direct and most honest answer I can give you is that bunting is really, really hard. It looks super easy, but it's really hard. So if I'm a left-handed hitter and the entire defense is shifted to the right side of second base in an 0-0 count against a nasty pitcher, and I pull the bat out to bunt down the third baseline, and it's a foul ball, for me, I lose a lot of confidence. Now I'm in an 0-1 count against a pitcher that is 2 strikes away from embarrassing me. The other factor is in an 0-1 count, I'm a whole lot less likely to do damage. So slug goes down, batting average goes down. So a lot of this is about count leverage and confidence. I always tell players that the thing that upsets me most is not that you don't attempt the bunt, it's that you don't practice the bunt to make it easier. So as long as guys are in the cage and on the field working their asses off to be really good bunters, I'm okay with them making the decision in the batter's box to swing to hit a double. My concern comes in when I'm not seeing the reps taking place, guys practicing to be good bunters.
Fair enough. That's a great answer. As a many year Little League coach, it's always critical for me to teach everybody to bunt, but it makes sense.
Yeah, and I think as a major league manager, I appreciate the effort of a Little League coach who gets the future players ready to bunt in the big situation with the game on the line.
Great. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about this wine. We're pouring the 2018 WALT Bob's Ranch Chardonnay. Bob's Ranch comes from a vineyard that is in a town called Sebastopol in the North Bay. It's near the coast, and it's an estate vineyard. And this is a wine that we have that has really great acidity and fruit character and brightness. And I just think it's drinking beautifully right now.
I don't know
if you had a chance to try it.
I understand the fruit and actually like smell and taste a little citrus, but I'm curious about when you say fruit character, is there anything specific about the word character that comes to mind? So is this about, is it about the entire mouthfeel of the wine? Can you give me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, wine is multifaceted, and so much of wine is defined by where the grapes come from. This is a really cool climate site, and when I refer to fruit, I'm just talking about the intensity of fruit. There's a lot of power and sweetness, citrus, melon, lots of different things, and then has richness and flavor on the palate that I think is delicious, and then great acidity with a clean finish is what we're hoping to find in this wine. Yeah,
I can taste a lot of that, and for me, it's just refreshing. It just kind of, it's a little bit uplifting and kind of energizing in a way. It's nice.
Yeah, well, we're glad you like it, and we'll make sure we get you some more of that. So,
thank you.
All right, I'm going to invite a special guest in here today. Our guest, his name is Gary Francione, and Gary is a grower of ours. He grows grapes in the Santa Lucia Highlands, and he's also has his own winery and wine brand called Roar. So welcome, Gary. Nice to have you here.
Thanks, Mike. Great to be on. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Hey, Gary.
So Gary, Gabe, we invited Gary to join us tonight because Gary's a huge Giants fan and started following the Giants actively in 1961. And, you and I were telling stories about your history with the Giants, Gary, so maybe you can just fill in some of the blanks.
I remember in '62 in the World Series, I stayed home from school that day. It was a radio game, naturally, and just cried after McCovey's line drive was caught by Bobby Richardson. He was just heartbroken for a second grader. Kill me. But, they had a great run in the 60s with all the powerhouse guys, McCovey, Mays, Cepeda, Marichal, and Perry. They always placed second. It was just disheartening. But, once you're a fan, always a fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gary, do you have any candlestick stories? Like, do you have memories of being at that ballpark?
Cold, but baseball's too good not to give up, no matter what the weather. But yet you can go there in September and take your shirt off. You'd be baking there in the upper deck. I mean, it's just crazy.
Super fascinating.
Gary and I were telling stories yesterday about memorable games that we were at, and we were both at the last game of the 1982 season when Joe Morgan hit a home run to knock the Dodgers out of the playoffs, and that was one of the most fun games I've ever been to. The place just went nuts.
Yeah, he hit a 3-run homer in the 7th inning, and Gabe, it doesn't matter as long as you beat the Dodgers. That's all you got to do, just beat the Dodgers. And
I love that idea, Gary. I love it.
I'll never forget Lasorda walking off the field, just waving the fans off. They were just booing him so bad.
Yeah, no, it's a long rivalry that I'm very familiar with. I grew up in LA and Southern California, so I was not a Dodgers fan. I was actually, ironically, well, maybe not so ironically, just I was a Blue Jays fan, and I was a Blue Jays fan just because I was on a T-ball team when I was a kid with the big bird on the chest, the powder blue uniforms. Just kind of fell in love with some of those late 80s Blue Jays players and so stayed committed to them. But I was very well aware as a kid in Southern California who absolutely adored baseball of the Giants, the fierceness of the Giants-Dodgers rivalry, and got a little taste of what a rivalry could be like playing in Boston in 2003, 2004, and 2005 with the Yankees. So I know how competitive the two cities are, and I'm really glad to be on the Northern California end of it right now.
Well, I hope you do that. I have a standing bet with a Dodgers fan for $20 every season about who's going to finish first. So I hope you can make me my $20 this year.
I can tell you we are going to work our tails off trying to make you your $20.
That'd be good. All right. So I have a little flash trivia contest between the two of you. And it's a mixture of wine and baseball trivia. And I have to admit that I handicapped the questions maybe for you, Gabe, because I realize you're more recent to the Bay Area, and you might not have the depth of Giants knowledge that
yeah.
Gary and I do. But
you could definitely get some odds for sure.
You're gonna do all right, I'm sure. All right, I'm gonna start with Gary. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read you 5 questions, and they're gonna come rapidly. So I need quick answers, and then I'll go over to Gabe and see how we do. And there will be prizes. All right.
Awesome.
Are you ready, Gary?
Let's go. I've never been in a home run derby before.
Okay, here we go. Where is the Giants' AAA farm team located?
Sacramento.
Very good. The 3 main grape varieties grown in Champaign are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and what variety?
You're killing me. Pass.
I'm so glad that wasn't my question. I am so glad. I would have just shut my computer.
The answer is Pinot Meunier.
Oh.
Who pitched the last pitch for the Giants in the 2010 World Series against the Texas Rangers?
Reliever. Pass.
Brian Wilson.
There you go.
What is the finest wine grape growing appellation in California?
Pinot Noir.
No, appellation.
Oh, the appellation? San Jose Highlands.
Of course it is. How many home runs did Barry Bonds hit?
752. 762.
Very good, 762. So I think you got 3 correct, Gary. And now we'll switch over to Gabe. That was a beautiful effort, Gary.
Nice job, Gary. That was impressive.
All right. In last weekend's PGA Golf Championship at Harding Park, they gave away orange and black golf bags to the players. What golfer refused the bag because he was a Dodgers fan?
I have no clue.
Tiger Woods.
Who?
Tiger.
Yeah, I'm not, heads up, like golf questions, no chance. And
That's
actually,
okay.
honestly, anything that's not happening in our clubhouse over the last month, no chance.
Okay, fair enough. I do appreciate his commitment, though, to the Dodgers, even though I dispute it. What is Felipe Alou's favorite wine variety?
Cabernet.
Excellent. 1 for 2. In 2012, which of your current players gave an inspirational speech prior to game 3? What? I'm sorry?
Hunter Pence. Do I get extra credit for answering that before you're done?
Well done. Hunter Pence.
Do I get 2
I'll finish the question.
2 points?
Yes. So his speech helped propel the team to go on and win 3 games in a row and ultimately win the World Series.
Awesome. Awesome.
What is the 1.5 liter bottle of wine called?
Can I have multiple choice?
No. No.
I don't know.
It's a Magnum.
Got it.
What year did the Giants move to San Francisco?
59.
Close, 1958. So I think that Gary Francione carried the day, but
No doubt. No
we
doubt.
will acknowledge that you are at a disadvantage, given that Gary's been following the team day and night for the last 50 plus years. So, and we know that you have not, but we look forward to great things from you. We're going to pour some wine now. We have a second wine that comes from one of Gary's vineyards. It's called the Sierra Mar Vineyard. Gary, I'm going to pour you a glass. Gabe, a glass for you. So, Gary, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about this vineyard in the Santa Lucia Highlands.
Sure, Mike. Sierra Mar is a family property from the 1930s that I planted in 2007. It was my fourth vineyard I planted. It's 420 acre property. There's a lot of, you can see mountains and brush around there, but 48 acres into vineyards. It's really kind of like 7 vineyards in one, because there's that piece shot right there is only 4 acres of the 48. So there's a lot of ridges and valleys and plateaus that I developed. To get to that point there, we pumped water 7 miles. That little shot on the vineyard on the right, I call it a 3-par. It's just 2.5 acres. And on the left is a little 4-acre piece. So we micro farm. Most of the soils there are decomposed granite. They're really, really thin. As I said, it's 1,000 feet in elevation. So it has a southeast sun exposure. So the vines stress really, really hard to get all the flavors they can. And it's just a stunning vineyard to view and see. And I invite you to get down sometime when the season's over and check out our area. It'd be fun.
Yeah, those are some beautiful shots, and I'd love to take part.
Yeah, and we love the wine. Pinot Noir is one of the king grape varieties in the world, but I love the richness and the power in this wine. It's got really beautiful fruit character, a lot of structure, and really great weight and acidity. So we appreciate partnering with Gary every year and trying to make a great wine out of this vineyard.
Yeah, Mike, it's got that typical Santa Lucia Highlands fruit-driven characters. Natural acidity because we're in the fog and near the Monterey Bay, and it's got those blackberry, components and a nice, balance with the acid that your winemakers do a great job with. They get it ripe, and I like wines that are ripe.
Yeah, they're delicious. So, any thoughts on this wine, Gabe?
Just that I started thinking immediately about like a ribeye and a piece of cheesecake. I don't know why, but I kind of thought about being at home in San Francisco, actually, with a little time and space to think about an upcoming series and how I'd love to pair this with a nice steak and then potentially a piece of cheesecake right after. So those are my quick hit thoughts.
Super. Yeah, it's really good. This is a delicious wine, and it comes from a really great place to grow grapes and really nice people too. So we appreciate our partnership with Gary and his family and his boys and his wife Rosella. So, all right. Well, I think we're going to say goodbye to Gary, and I have a couple more questions for you, Gabe, if that's all right. But Gary?
Love it.
Gary, we will see you soon, and good luck this harvest.
We're getting ready for harvest. Good luck with the season, Gabe.
Gary, thanks. Look forward maybe to the off season to connecting and having a glass with you.
You know, and I'll send you a Magnum so you know what a Magnum is, okay?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That will help some of the embarrassment go away.
There you go. I'm sure that'll help a lot. So one of the questions that I have from the group here is somebody asked, tell me about which of you were in a lot of teams and a lot of different clubhouses and experiences. Which of the seasons or the clubhouse experiences would you say was the best over that your career?
The 2004 World Series championship season for me in Boston was really special. We had a lot of kind of fun-loving individuals who like to be at the ballpark together. We like to eat and drink together, lots of bottles of wine together, and an incredible amount of camaraderie from Pedro Martinez to Manny Ramirez, Kevin Millar, Bill Miller, who you guys had in San Francisco. It was just a great group that loved to spend time together. So that was the camaraderie that we try to create in every clubhouse, is just a super tight unit who cares about one another and likes being together.
Oh, and by the way, the city was going insane that season too. So.
Yeah, no, obviously it was, the breaking of the curse, and just to be a part of that, to be on the field when the last out was recorded, to have my two sons with me on the Busch Stadium mound long after everybody had left the building, the night after, or the night when we won the World Series, was something that I'll never forget. Really, really appreciative to have been a part of that.
Yeah. So another question that came up, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but it seems like this shortened season is sort of chaos in terms of player movement, and you don't really have time for folks to settle in, and until the breaking out of slumps, you don't have time to let people to break out of slumps because it's only a 60-game season. So do you have any thoughts on how you might be viewing the season a little differently because of that?
Yeah, look, I believe in our players, and my job is to support them and help them be the best possible baseball players they can be. And so my thoughts are, even in a shortened season, that support doesn't go away. It never will. I believe confident baseball players are better baseball players. So I don't think a whole lot of motivation in a game that is just there's so much failure. The best way is to kind of encourage and instill confidence and kind of show a lot of support and love. So that's the style in a 60-game season and a 162-game season. As a player myself, I always wanted the manager of the club to have my back and to support me. I've always remembered that, and I'll never forget how hard the game is. Never forget that a 40 at bat stretch for a proven player with a long track record of success is possible. So I don't stress it, and I just support and get our players' backs.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I think that's what we have for today. I really appreciate your time. It's been great for me. I have been watching the games this season and look forward to your success, both in this shortened season and many years to come. And so we love with passion what you do, and we love to share it with you. And hopefully you'll have a chance to come up and share what we're passionate about here in the Napa Valley. So hopefully we'll see you soon.
We'll make sure that we make that happen, Mike. Both wines were fantastic. Appreciate you having me, and look forward to tasting more with you and learning more about what you guys do.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you soon, either here or there. So
I like that idea. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Have a great day. All right, everybody. That was really fun. We hope you enjoyed that. We just want to remind everybody to visit us at www.waltwines.com if you are interested in getting some wine. And again, in this, as I started off earlier, in this troubled time, if if we can put a smile on your face in the evening, we're happy to do that. And we hope that you are happy and safe and healthy during these times and enjoying some good wine. So have a great evening. Cheers.